understand there's a radio talk show host, can't think of his name. He got into trouble with some of those prescription drugs. But my suspicion is what happened, why that never hurt, because both Republicans and Democrats spent a lot of money. That's been 10 years ago or so against me on this drug issue, and it never seemed to stick. Because I think a lot of people either knew of or had some kid or some relative know, somebody that got into drugs and ended up in prison, and all kinds of stories. And besides, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that maybe we should think about treating somebody who's addicted to a drug. Maybe it's something like being addicted to alcohol. What if we put all our alcoholics in prison? The trouble is that when I say that stuff in Washington, there's always somebody popped up and said, yeah, that's what we all do. It's one area where I tend to be optimistic. I keep thinking that the country might be like they did after Prohibition of alcohol, when they sort of woke up and said, hey, this was a dumb experiment. and then of course, they repealed Prohibition. But isn't it remarkable, and that's not so long ago, that they figured we wanted this social engineering and tell people what to do, what they can drink. They actually thought they had to amend the Constitution to tell people about that. So they amended the Constitution, it didn't work, they amended it again to get rid of it. Now, they don't have anything to do with it. They just go do these things without even considering the Constitution. The drug issue is an interesting one that I've been able to use against many liberals who might not be sympathetic with some of the things, especially if you talk about states' rights and state sovereignty. That's a turn off people. That means you're really out of it if you talk about that. But if I get on a show that I know is a liberal audience, I said, well, I think that California deserves to have some states' rights. Maybe they'd pay their own bills. That would be one thing. If they have enough compassionate conservatives in California that says that sick people who have cancer or AIDS, would be permitted to use their own marijuana and maybe get some relief, maybe the state of California ought to have the right to say that instead of the federal government coming down hard on the state and telling them what to do, and they understand that argument. Matter of fact, the left understands the argument about environment regulations. Some states are much stricter on what they want done. And under the Constitution, that might not be a wise choice, but under the Constitution, Washington shouldn't be telling the state of Washington or California, anybody, exactly what they want to do, and that they should. And the previous administration now was always in favor of nationalizing regulations. And they tended to, even have the national regulation overtake a state regulation, which would be stricter. Now there is a shift where there's a recognition, but that should be used as a principle. If it's good on marijuana and good on environmental regulations, why isn't it good for all the other issues? Maybe someday that'll sink in, and we'll have this principle that local government is best. Our problem, though, isn't so much that we have to explain and show them how the federal government messes up so much. The opposition who likes government, they want bigger government. They want world government. This is what's likely to come out of this economic crisis if we don't win this fight. Is they want to take this and they want another international bank. They want the United Nations, the IMF, running it. They want these special drawing rights, this stuff they used to call paper gold, as to be the money of the world. And all the financial regulations, they want to be internationalized. They've already started that. When you talk about the regulations of vitamins and nutritional substances, the drug companies want to regulate that under the WTO. So that is a big problem for us too. So we not only have to deal with what we have in Washington, we also have to deal with those who would have even bigger government. The one advantage, though, of if you're looking for advantage advantages and opportunities in the midst of a crisis. If it's really major, which I'm expecting it to be, you know, there's been a lot of these resolutions passed by the states, states' rights, the 10th Amendment issues, and state sovereignty issues, and a lot of people who have no understanding of that whatsoever are coming to the rallies to, you know, because they know there's enough people now demanding this. And yeah, if there is a total collapse of the dollar, you know what I think will happen? I don't think there will be secession. I think that people will just ignore Washington. This suggested that in one audience that could be possible. I know it wouldn't be in this audience. Some of them said, there are a few who already just ignore Washington. But no, we should use it as an opportunity. But the groundwork has to be laid, and that is the intellectual fight has to be won. People have to know how to defend sound money, and they have to understand how to defend the free market. The biggest challenge in defending the free market is that we are always said to be the ones that have no compassion whatsoever. We don't care for our fellow man. A bleeding heart liberal really cares. And there are a lot of bleeding heart liberals that I know and like and I work with. And they wanted to talk to on the floor the other day, and we were talking about the credit card bill. And the credit card bill, you know, is designed to make sure that the credit card company doesn't gouge you with interest rates. Sounds very good. But that means the people who pay their bills have to pay more, and the people who don't pay the bills get a lower interest rate. And I said, I don't like price fixing. He said, and I said, besides, those people borrow too much money. They shouldn't be borrowing that money if they can't, you know, do that. Arguing the marketplace. He said, yeah, but a lot of people out there are real dumb. So he was smart, and then he knew how, so that means they have the assumption that people are dumb, and therefore, what? We're going to tell you what you can read, what you can ingest, what you can smoke, what kind of habits you can have, what sexual preferences are, on and on, because people are dumb. And then maybe they'll talk about, you know, intellectual curiosity and other things that the government should regulate. Right now, we still have fair respect for intellectual and religious freedom, but when it comes to what we put into our bodies, all of a sudden, the country for 100 years have accepted the idea that people are dumb, and the government has to tell us what to do. Besides, don't you know, if you didn't have, I think this Mr. Ed guy said the other day that if we didn't have the Department of Agriculture, none of the food would be safe. And of course, you know, I was working with somebody from the left on the marijuana and hemp issue, and I thought he automatically would be with me on the raw milk issue. No, you can't legalize raw milk because somebody might drink raw milk that isn't safe. So it's amazing, you know, the rationale. But I believe the philosophy of liberty and the Constitution and the principle that we take care of ourselves and help our fellow men voluntarily makes so much sense that it's the most humanitarian system and the most viable system. It can produce the greatest amount of abundance and the fairest distribution. There's no reason why we can't win this argument.